Brandel, good morning. Your reaction to Tiger Woods?
Well, I was disappointed. I think, like the rest of the golf world, I was excited at the idea that Tiger Woods would come back. He's already given us two of the greatest comebacks in the history of this game. In 2008, winning the U.S. Open, and then after the various injuries and scandal, coming back to number one in the world in 2013. And I thought, what can he do next? And the idea that he could come back and maybe give us a back and forth with Phil Mickelson was enough to celebrate. But we're pushing that champagne to the back of the fridge. It's going to take a few more months for him to figure all this out.
What do you make of the statement and the word vulnerable?
I think that's an athlete being very particular about his word choice, not trying to define himself. What he has around the greens, there's no other way to talk about it except to call it the yips. This is more commonly seen in baseball, and even in baseball, they don't use that term. They'll say an athlete or a baseball player has a misplaced focus, or they're playing with a deficiency, or they're being a liability. They're very careful not to define an athlete as having the yips. And Tiger Woods, I'm sure, is well aware of all the problems that he has around the greens. But to sort of augment them by labeling them the yips, I think would even exacerbate the problem. So vulnerability to me means subject to attack. And anybody that's ever had the yips or seen them knows that they come out of nowhere and they just attack the golfer.
Is he being smart?
Well, is he being smart? I think he's reluctant to come out on wherever he's at. It's the biggest stage in golf, maybe the sports world that weekend, and he would be reluctant to come out and put on stage something that is so in contrast to what we're used to seeing from Tiger Woods. So, yeah, he's protecting the legacy and the image of Tiger Woods, and rightly so.
Yeah, that's what I'd said before, that he's protecting a brand here, that you don't want to show. You've been vulnerable, you haven't played well, but you still have a brand to protect, and the amount of money that he makes through Nike and his other endorsements here. But would you rather have an injury, or would you rather have something that's psychological?
Oh, an injury by a wide margin. Injuries heal. A psychological problem, and that's, there are varying scientific discoveries on this. Is it mental? Is it neurological, muscular? Whatever it is, it's going to take some time for him to get over. And to your idea about protecting a brand, imagine if Michael Jordan came back and played at the Wizards but couldn't make a free throw.
Yeah.
Imagine if Favre played for the Jets and the Vikings, and he would throw it into the stands on a quick out. That would be a lasting legacy of those tremendous athletes. And I'm sure that's in the back of Tiger Woods' mind. He doesn't want to have the last piece of video to bookend his career. One would be the 12-shot victory at Augusta National, and then it's the display of all the yips and the blades and the chunks. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think he is protecting a brand.
What do you think the Ryder Cup did for him?
I think it made him envious, probably. Watching the Open Championship, Phil Mickelson and Henrik Stenson go back and forth. I'm sure it was frustrating for him to sit there and watch these great golfers who he knows when he's at his best, they can't hold a candle to him. And I'm sure he was watching the Ryder Cup, watching the great play by Phil Mickelson and thinking, at my best, I can beat this guy easily. And he's making 10 birdies and getting all the limelight. And I am so much better than these players at my best. I want to get out there and play. But then, I'm sure reality slapped him in the face. And the issue of the yips, it just doesn't go away. It's so sad to see, but imagine enduring it.
How do you get the yips?
Again, there's studies on this going back years, decades. Mayo Clinic has done 2 big studies on this. Books have been written about it. This guy, Dr. Richard Crowley, has written a book in baseball called The Mental Game. And he has his players, the Steve Blass, Steve Sachs, Sean Green, all these guys, Knobloch, that got the yips in baseball. And he put them through mental exercises. And supposedly he got them to the other side of it. Haney, Tiger Woods' former teacher, he has said he's with surgeons who are fine in the operating room. Cannot.
Hold on for a second, Brandel. Your phone's breaking up. We'll see if we can get him back.
His phone had the yips. Have you ever had that, Dan, when you were playing casual golf? Or do you not play at a competitive enough level?
I don't think I was good enough to get. I think you have to be at a certain level to get the yips. I wasn't good enough to get the yips. I do think that the more an athlete thinks, the worse they are. And I'll go back to the comment that John McEnroe made to me years ago. I said, "What do you think when you play?" And he goes, "I don't think. I react." When you think, then it kind of, there's a hesitation. Like I'm thinking about something instead of just doing something. Yes, he.
Is there a difference between the yips and then having, say, a tick or something that you've developed?
Like Sergio Garcia had a pre-shot routine where it took him forever. And I think it got into his head, and then it felt like it went longer and longer and longer. But I think a pre-shot routine or a tick is going to be different than a yip. But let's ask Brandel Chamblee, who rejoins us. As you were talking about the yips and how you get them.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying, Hank Haney, his former teacher, said he's seen 11-year-olds who've never even played the game who have this malady. He's worked with surgeons who are fine in the operating room, can do any surgery, and can't come out and make a foot putt. Another fellow by the name of Robert Pritchard wrote a book, a study about the stronger the grip, the tighter you hold on to the golf club. And he stated or used as example players like Ben Hogan, Tom Watson, Johnny Miller, that over hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of shots, that it tears the muscle fibers and causes scar tissue, and then the tension in the arms causes muscle spasms. Everybody chimes in on this. And Richard Crowley, the doctor who wrote the book Mental Game, says it doesn't matter how you get them. It doesn't matter what causes them. Nobody is ever going to know. Nobody's ever going to land right on it. They're not going to get their arms around it. The only thing to do is to try to figure out how to solve the problem. In golf, the only people that have solved the putting yip successfully are people who've completely changed their method or came about it through a mental sort of in a more cognitive way, like Tom Watson. But around the greens, you see Vijay Singh. He didn't have the chipping yips, but he was having problems chipping. He went to cross-handed. For Tiger Woods to get over this, I think he's going to have to go to a completely different method, maybe cross-handed or start to chip like a Jim Furyk, where you get really upright and you completely eliminate the wrist hinge going back and through. Some completely different method where he no longer uses the leading edge and he's able to play around this deficiency.
Before I let you go, the odds for Tiger to win a major next year are 12-1. Would you take those odds?
Wow. I think if you bet $100 on that, you're going to lose $100.
Well, yeah, you're going to lose 110.
I'm sorry. Yes. I stand corrected. 110. You're absolutely right.
So you're not going to take those odds.
I would take the odds on him to play at a major championship. Okay. I would take those. But to win one, that's another story. I actually didn't think he would ever come back and play golf. So if he comes back and plays, it's a plus for the game of golf. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes back and plays and gets over this ailment, because golf is way better and way more interesting with Tiger around.
Thank you, Brandel.
Thank you.
That's Brandel Chamblee, the Golf Channel.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.